40 pounds less than I was a little over a year ago. I went from a 2X in pants to I'm wearing a large in my workout pants. I can sit with my knees drawn up to my chest. I couldn't do that before. It's I could have ice cream. I just didn't have a whole bowl of ice cream. And I've gone off both the oral medications for my blood sugar.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another client testimony. Today you're going to be hearing from Aubrey. Aubrey is a mother of 3 boys, a wife, an educator, and a history buff. Aubrey is also someone who has struggled with her weight for a majority of her life. When we met each other, she had just started taking Ozempic per her doctor's recommendations to help her get her blood sugar under control. And she knew she needed some support adopting all of the healthy lifestyle habits to go with it, like starting strength training and learning how to eat more fiber and more protein. Given her very hectic life and all of the responsibilities that are already sitting on her shoulders, we decided to take a very slow and steady approach to changing her lifestyle habits. We only ever trained 2 to 3 times a week for 30 minutes. We mainly just focused on getting her to get her steps up to 6,000 steps per day. And we didn't even calorie count. We just focused on increasing her protein, increasing the amount of fruits and veggies she was eating, and actually getting her to have 3 square meals a day. In 1 year, with the help of the GLP-1, we were able to lose 40 pounds. What I really want you to pay attention to about Aubrey's story is that we didn't crash diet, we didn't cut all sugars, we didn't cut out all carbs, we didn't work out every day, we didn't do a crap ton of cardio and HIIT training. We literally just asked ourselves, what is the bare minimum that we can get away with doing while still getting Aubrey the results that she was looking for? Because I'm of the belief that just because you can take a hard and fast and very difficult approach to fat loss doesn't mean that you should. Because there really is no timeline other than the ones that we literally create in our heads. And I feel like so many of us approach fitness from this place of self-punishment and of wanting to lose the weight as quickly as possible. And we just create a very pressured and honestly just dreadful experience, and then we wonder why we can't stick with it. With Aubrey, we really focused on finding a way to make her enjoy it as much as possible so that she could actually stay consistent long term. And anyways, you're gonna hear Aubrey talk about this, but the real reward isn't even the weight loss. It's the confidence and the self-trust and the skills and the habits that you build along the way that change you from the inside out. You get to a point where the fat loss is just a happy side effect of you taking control of your life back, okay? So let's focus on enjoying the journey. And on that note, here is Aubrey.
Because it wasn't just about the lifting or about the nutrition. It was kind of about that whole, we can also talk about the reason behind why you are not keeping up with it or whatever. And I think that was what kind of made me go, I think you're the right person to start this with me and to do what I needed to do. Because that's pretty much what I'd been looking for, was somebody to keep me accountable, somebody that I could talk to, that I was comfortable with, and that it didn't always have to be about the lifting, Yeah. So I think that was what really, really set it off and what made it kind of click that this is what I needed to help me.
Yes. Had you ever worked with trainers in the past or coaches?
Yes. I've done oh gosh, at the gym you would buy the package, right? And it was just about the nutrition or about the cardio and the weights and everything. And I think what really got me was never personal. It was always just very, I think most of the time, to be totally honest with you, they were all men, which isn't to say that they can't be like that, but I think there wasn't that connection just because we have a different experience, I think, and a lot of people make it about, oh, you want to lose weight to look good. It's no, I just want to feel better. And if I look good in the process, that's a good deal. you know? And I think that feeling better gives you the confidence. It's not even necessarily what you see in the mirror, but what you feel based on how you're doing,
And do you feel more confident now?
Definitely.
Are there little ways that your life has changed? Because I know you've told me a bunch of little wins that you were wow, I didn't expect this to be something that I would notice a change in, or that would make my life easier or better.
Yeah, I can sit with my knees drawn up to my chest. I couldn't do that before. It's so weird. I thought it was just one of those moments. I'm sitting in a chair and I've got my leg up like this and I'm going, I can do this, And I think I remember as a kid, like not being able to sit on the floor as long as other people because probably by about 10, I was definitely overweight compared to my classmates. And I just remember, the fact I could watch them sit. I'm like, how can you do that? Like even my own children now, my middle son, he can actually sit where his feet are flat, but his butt isn't touching the floor, and he'll just sit like that on the floor.
Like he's squatting?
I'm like, he's squatting. I'm like, how do you people do that? I still can't quite do that. I think that's more like tendons and stuff that my body won't do. But yeah, it's just stupid. It seems stupid, but it's weird, those little things. And I've had conversations with my husband where like my outlook and attitude has totally changed, and I think it's all those little pieces of recognizing, I went from a 2X in pants to I'm wearing a large in my workout pants, and I've gone down at least 2 sizes in jean size, and they're getting too big. The other day, it was only the second time I'd worn a pair of jeans, and I'm like, I should have bought a belt too. I probably could go down a size at this point. So, it's just, I think all those have really changed my outlook, and I do just feel better in general, and that's a helpful thing. I'm still really good at hurting myself apparently between like my shoulders and my, my neck and whatever. But I think those are all just going to be regular setbacks. I've always been accident prone too. So
Meditation.
Yeah, right.
The older I get, the more I'm like, trauma is stored in the body. Your pain is due to emotions that you're not addressing. But not to get off track.
Yeah. Well, but that's it too. Like the stressor, like I think stress really makes you not feel very good. And it's really very true that you hold it. Like I can feel it when I'm tense in my jaw, and that affects my neck and everything. And I just think for me, I have one less stress in my life. I recognize that I don't hate how I look. I don't hate how I feel. I don't always feel lethargic. I still have my moments where, work gets to you and you come home, you're like, I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to do anything. But I'm noticing it's less and less, and it's not as related to, I have to get up in the morning and pick out clothes.
Wow.
And that's not a struggle anymore. It's just one less thing.
Dang. Yeah, no one talks about the toll mentally it takes on you to constantly be thinking about your body, or how badly you feel about your body, or the toll it takes on you to honestly constantly be thinking about food too. Mm-hmm. On that note, can you talk about your experience with Ozempic? Or is it Ozempic, or like, I know you take a GLP-1.
Yeah, it's the Ozempic, yeah.
What prompted you to take it? Were you apprehensive at all to take it? And then what has been your experience taking it? Because I feel like there's so much stigma around it, and so many people are afraid of it. So many people are abusing it too. But I like to think that your story is a success story.
Yeah. Well, I didn't like telling people that I was on it, because I genuinely, weight loss was the positive side effect for me, because I was genuinely on it for my A1C, my diabetes, because my A1C was at like a 9.2. And
wait, what's the normal range, and what's
a normal range? So pre-diabetic is 6.2 and below, and then like I want to say 5.4 is considered non-diabetic. So like if you as a non-diabetic had your A1C taken for whatever reason, it'd probably be between like a 5 and a 5.4.
Okay.
And so for me, having it be a 9.2, which means your blood sugars are averaging above 250. On the regular, that's not good, because a normal blood sugar is between like 85 and 120. Mm-hmm. And so I just knew health-wise that was not working. And so between that, I was on Ozempic and then metformin and Jardiance. So 2 oral medications for my blood sugar and the Ozempic. I was a little scared just because I've heard of some of the the nausea, people will throw up if they eat too much and things like that. But I think between the fact that I already have for so long really focused on like lowering carbs and just things and what I really should be eating, I went into it knowing that was a possibility, and knowing that, okay, I've heard when people binge or they overeat, this is when that happens. So I started off really, really cautious. So I might have that uncomfortable, like, oh, my stomach hurts a little bit, but I didn't think I was going to throw up. It wasn't even as bad as morning sickness. Anything like that. It was just, I probably shouldn't eat that. And the first time it did, I had a bagel, and I kind of like made a bagel sandwich with some like turkey and cheese. And that was the worst night I had. I still never threw up, which was nice, but I just was so uncomfortable. Like my stomach, I was nauseous. And so I was like, well, guess not doing that again. And so now I've kind of worked myself back up into being like, I'll eat a half a bagel or something like that, you know. But I think for me, it became more of that tool that I knew it was lowering my A1C. I saw the effect it was having on weight loss because I just couldn't eat as much. But it also didn't turn into I couldn't eat certain things. Like I could have ice cream. I just didn't have a whole bowl of ice cream. You know, I determined like one of those little cones was perfect, you know, or something like that. And it's not even about sugar versus anything or sugar or carbs. It was really just the amount because it slows your digestion.
Yeah.
So you feel fuller. And so once I kind of learned those sorts of things, it was not as bad as I thought it would be. And then I liked the side effect of the weight loss. And now it's actually gotten down to I'm in a pre-diabetic range.
Yeah.
And they want, but I'm only on the Ozempic. And I've gone off both the oral medications for my blood sugar, which I finally just went off the last one. So I'll get to see what it does. And even the doctor said, because you're not on that extra, you know, your A1C might go up a little bit, but we're kind of in that when you are diabetic, as long as it's below a 7, they're usually pretty happy. So we'll just kind of have to see what I do without those. So, yeah. And now it's not as much of a stigma anymore either. I don't feel bad because I'm just like, I don't even know why I did, but it was one of those, a few people know now, and they've all had really positive reactions, and it's just, I don't know, it's nice that I've seen that lately, that I don't have to worry about it or feel bad about it for whatever reason. So
what's interesting to me is how slow and steady, in my opinion, your fat loss has been. Whereas a lot of people, I think, associate GLP-1s with like extreme weight loss now.
Right.
For you, it's been so slow and steady. And for you, which is why I wanted to work with you, it was always about being strong and being healthy. And that's how you approached it. Like it was like we've barely counted calories. Now we're starting to try to count calories so to see if there's a possibility of you being able to like maintain your weight if you decided to come off of it. But mostly all we did was like work on like the big stones of like eating more fiber, eating more protein, and then just moving your body and going to the gym.
Well, and it's weird because even like we've said this a couple of times, when my bad weeks, I understand that they're not bad on the like, oh, you ate 3,000 calories. No, it's not like that. It's just I'm not eating things that are keeping me full and I feel gross. Like I just feel awful. And so I reckon that my bad weeks are more, again, it's even more about health versus weight gain, because I seem to have always managed to stay within that like normal 5-pound fluctuation in a week. It's never been up. And it was hilarious because my average, I went up like about 2 pounds lately, where I've just stayed at this 2 pounds higher, and I was mad at myself, and I realized, but this still is 40 pounds less than I was a little over a year ago. So it's like, this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. So, I think you're still always going to have those moments, and you look at yourself different in the mirror, no matter what weight you are. So I think that's just, that's one of those things where I've kind of started to recognize that too.
Do you remember how hard you used to be on yourself versus now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons I hurt myself, is because I feel like if my arms aren't dead, or if I, can still walk without a limp or whatever, that I didn't do enough. And I think I still have those moments where working out in the gym, I still struggle with, when to stop versus, like, what works when you don't have to do it that hard, like the walking thing, I'm just like, but is walking really doing anything?
Were you surprised, like, when you met me and you heard my philosophy was very much like doing the bare minimum, like doing as little as possible while still getting results? Like, obviously I'm asking a leading question, but do you feel like that's why this time has been so different and why you've been able to like stick with it? Because you've stuck with it for so long. We've been working together for over a year.
Yeah, July of 24 was when we started. Yeah. Or no, June. It was June. Yeah, so over a year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a year and 3 months.
Yeah, I think that is because one thing that with other things in the past, it's almost like you already feel guilty. Like I always have issues with guilt, where it's like you ate this, you shouldn't have eaten that sort of thing. But then you have someone, the person that's keeping you accountable, adding to that guilt. It's like, well, this isn't helpful. Like it's just mentally draining. And then you start to dread it. And my whole thing, my stress coping mechanism is avoidance. So then I would just avoid all of that. And so it was not helpful in the least. And I think with you, it was never, like I started off with that. I didn't want to disappoint. I didn't want to let you down and, things of that nature.
We had so many conversations about that.
Yeah. But it was never something you did. That was what I came with, And then with you, you were always just like, okay, well, we don't have to lift today. We can just talk. Like, wait, what? That's a thing. You're allowed to do that, And I think, too, it was really nice that you just kind of have this understanding, I think, that that's a toxic environment to have that added guilt, whereas, just being more understanding is going to get you more. It's almost that, like, catch more flies with honey than vinegar or whatever. So, yeah.
I remember you would, like, come to work out and you would be like, this thing happened, and my initial instinct was to not tell you that I coped with food or that I overate like this, and I felt so ashamed, and I was like, and I remember I would be like, where's the problem? Everyone overeats sometimes. It's not about overeating sometimes. It's about when that overeating or when that coping with food becomes a habit that then starts to create like a negative outcome. And then you would be like, oh, I don't have to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. I can't eat the bagel sandwich. And then after a while, you started being more comfortable being like, I had some of my kids' fries, and I loved it, and it was great. Right. And you went on a road trip with him, and you were like, and we stopped for fast food, and I was eating it because it's what we had to eat, but I wasn't even really in the mood to eat it.
Yeah.
And both are valid.
Yeah. Well, because that's always been my thing is, like I was saying, it's just, I didn't feel as good afterwards, but it was what I said, what we had. And road trips are for that. So, and my kids are so picky that even if I went somewhere, it was like they were going to get the fries and the burger and whatever. And, so with him, it was like I would try to make different, like I would get the grilled chicken versus like, the crispy chicken. And that was a little better. And again, it was more about feeling better than feeling guilty, and trying to make those better decisions because I had to be the driver. He's 10. I couldn't rely on him for much of anything other than company in the car. So it was like, I don't want to feel sick. I want to feel decent, and I think focusing more on that than the outcome of how you look or the weight or, the calories is better for me mentally than anything else.
Oh, here's a good one to give anyone like more day-to-day insight on what our work together looks like. Can you describe what what the day-to-day of being coached by me is like to someone who has never been coached? Like if they were like, what is coaching like? What comes with it? How would you describe it?
I feel like it became more of like a friendship than anything. And that was like and I think that's what you're always going for because you want that comfort level and you want that ease to it and that lack of guilt and that, and so I know we would usually set up 2 days a week where we would meet and we would work out, and then it became the online where it was, using my phone and whatnot, which I thought I was going to be more self-conscious with than I really am. I was like, whatever. It's, people walk around with their phone like this all the time. So, and you were like sitting on the, up against a water bottle or something. So it wasn't anything horrible, but yeah, and then I think the conversation was nice because sometimes that was what we would do. We didn't just end up talking about things or, we're like, no, we have to stop talking.
Yeah.
And I think, and it was like being in the back of my mind too, is that I would kind of put things away where I was like, I'm going to tell Marina about this. I need to talk to her about this or, things of that nature. And the only obstacle I had is I think I'm just very bad with this with even other friends that I've known for years is that you're like, you can text me. I may not answer right away, but I just like, I don't want to bother people. And so again, that's a me thing, but I think that was, you have that open communication, which is great. So even if you're not scheduled to work out or anything like that, I think it's, it's helpful to do that. Because I think the other part of it is that, again, this is me, not you, is that you, this is your job. This is your profession, you know, and I understand that. So I think I would always worry that I was abusing the feeling of the friendship, even though I don't think that that's how you would have seen it, you know? And I think that's a hurdle that people still need to get over, is where does that become what you are trying to get out of this, and what is, you know, what we kind of have come to expect from trainers, where it's like, this is my job. This is not the time for you to talk to me. You know what I mean? Because that's not you. And so I think that was one of my things that I still struggle to reconcile with, just because I think it's so ingrained, you know, but yeah.
You know, what's funny? I make it such a point to like overemphasize that I'm available, because I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that with my coach as well. And I have to remind myself that he can't help me if I don't reach out. And like every time I do reach out, he always responds well.
Right.
Oh, my dog is snoring. He has allergies.
I've always had dogs that snore. My son, I went to wake him up this morning and I heard the little... I was like, dude, really? Sounds like an old man.
But yeah, it's so weird. You're right. It's so ingrained in us to like not ask for help. And that's one thing. I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. I think eventually, like, having an online fitness coach is going to be just as ubiquitous. Well, I wouldn't say therapy is ubiquitous, but I feel like therapy used to be stigmatized, or like people didn't see the value in therapy.
Yeah.
Of having this person that you pay money to like prioritize your mental health. I feel like for some reason, like, we haven't connected that your nutrition habits and your fitness habits, it's okay to ask for help, you know? Like, I think there's going to come a point where everyone at some point in their life is going to hire a fitness coach. Until I guess my work becomes obsolete. Hopefully it never does.
Right. But you're long gone by that point, right? It doesn't matter.
I guess the point would be for my work to eventually become obsolete, because everyone would, like, this knowledge would be, like, in our culture. But, like, if you think about it, we are a product of our upbringing. So a lot of us, like, will convince ourselves that the way that we've always been, the way that we've always been is the way that we always will be. But the truth is, like, we can change who we are. You're most likely going to require a lot of help, though, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with that. But, like, the point is, I think online coaching is, like, the best thing ever. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think you know that I'm being truthful because I have a coach myself. And I think that's a good sign. Like, good therapists need good therapists, but...
Right. Well, and I think that's kind of the other piece. When we said we connected on some of that, where it was like we dealt with some of the similar growing up things and how we felt about our bodies and weight loss and all that sort of stuff, and food in general, is that you've lived it too. And I don't think being coached by someone who hasn't lived it is helpful.
Yep.
In so many ways. Like, my husband's always been tall and skinny. So when I would say, like, oh, I look horrible in this, or I don't, you know, he's just like, he doesn't get it. Like, he had his own insecurities about other things, but it was never about weight or food or anything like that. Because he's one of those that can eat whatever and not gain any weight. And so it might affect his health, but it's not necessarily affecting his body image or mental health, you know? Yeah. And I think that was always a frustration of mine, that I didn't feel like he understood. Yeah. And so I didn't feel like I had someone to talk to. Yes. About it, because he just kind of sits there like, well, you know, I think you're beautiful. Great. You're biased. You're not getting what I'm talking about.
You're lying.
Yeah.
You're preying on my downfall. How dare you? But then if he did agree, you'd be like, how could you?
Yeah. Did you just call me fat? I've actually done that to him a couple times. Just like, he'll say the most random thing, like, are you calling me fat? He's like, but that is not even remotely I'm just messing with you. It's okay. But yeah, I think having that connection with the experience is helpful, because even if it's a little bit different than somebody's, the fact that you felt those feelings of insecurity, of, the food issues and all that. So I think that's, you found a way to overcome it for you, so you can share how you've done it and try to find a way that works for other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's been online, in person, both of those have been really, really helpful, to have that like person you can talk to that understands.
I think we greatly undervalue that. We undervalue having someone in your corner to tell you, hey, you're not crazy and you're not failing. And that kind of helps you be like, okay. And it like helps you keep going, because I feel like when a lot of us are left to our own devices, I know, because I struggled with it. It took me like 10 years before I figured it out. When we're left to our own devices, every obstacle we meet along the path, we use it as a way to convince ourselves of why we're not good enough, why this is never going to work. I'm just someone who's going to be fat forever. Like, you know what I mean? We use that as like confirmation for why it's not going to work. And so when you have an obstacle or you have a bad day, having someone that you can bring it to, did you just hear him cough? He gagged. Having someone that you can bring it to, so I how many times have I de-escalated it and helped you come off the cliff?
Yeah.
But now what's cool is, after me being like your little angel of truth in your head for over a year, now you can do it for yourself, hopefully. Yeah. and now you won't need me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's so interesting about some professions, is it's like your job is to get rid of yourself, like in that way, you know what I mean? Like that you needed me for this time, and now my ultimate goal is that you won't need me. You know, it's almost like that parenting thing. My ultimate goal is that they are healthy, happy, and leave my house, and they can live their own lives. And I think that's what your ultimate goal is. And I think that's also a helpful thing, because like I said, some of the trainers that I've used in the past, it's all about the business aspect of it, the doing this and doing that. And it is like the money side of it. And it's not, I mean, we almost forgot that we had hit 6 months. It was just, almost got some free sessions. No,
I feel like in the past, the tactic, to hire someone was to show them how in a terrible place they were. Like, trainers would purposely put you through a really hard workout that makes you feel like a piece of crap, to kind of show you how much you needed them, and alarm you, and fearmonger you into doing it or into staying for a long time. But that's just false.
Well, and I think the one time I knew they saw the weight, so even though I've always been overweight, I've also been very athletic. So I played sports and all those things. And so the last trainer that I worked with before you was when I first moved to Tennessee. And so I was 2019. And so we did that first meeting, and I think we went to do squats, or we went to do something. And he looked at me and he goes, I don't have to correct your form. He's like, that shocks me. And I'm like, why does that shock you, that I know how to do a correct squat or so, and just the idea that he didn't expect that I would know how to properly do some of the things. Because one, like I said, I've worked with trainers in the past. I've also always wanted to lift. I've always tried. I was actually of the age where in PE, I was told you don't want your knees to go over your foot because you can, things like that. So I learned that stuff growing up. And I think he was probably about 7 or 8 years younger than me. So I don't know, but it was just one of those moments where I looked at him like, is it because of how much I weigh, or the fact that I don't look like I work out, or I can, and so people just didn't realize I was a whole lot stronger than I already was, than they thought I would be, So I think it was just, that was the last time that I was like, they don't actually see you. They see what they're trying to change. And
Dang. That was so profound.
Yeah.
You didn't feel seen. Of course you left.
Yeah, it's just not fun in the least. And I think, again, that's kind of where I fall now, is I just want to feel good about myself, and I feel better about myself, and whatever anybody else thinks, whatever. But yeah, and the funny thing is, of course, I've gotten a lot more of the positive, oh wow, you've lost a lot of weight, you look really good, but what are you doing that I can, and So, and I hate to say it, but I think I've got different tools than some of them, because I don't want people to go on GLP-1s just for that extreme weight loss. Like, I had it for a different reason with the added side effect that was nice, you know?
Yeah.
So I think,
wait, but when people ask you now, how do you feel when they ask you how you did it?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes when people ask me, like, how do you do it? I'm almost like, I'm not even going to answer that question, because I know you're looking for a quick fix. I know you don't want to hear that I've been lifting consistently 4 times a week for the past 5 years, getting 6,000 to 8,000 steps in per day, and prioritizing fiber, fruits and veggies, and protein.
The most I tell them is kind of like that. Because it is, I lift, and I've been working with a trainer, so I've got accountability. And then, you know, I've been trying to change my nutrition. Depending on, I think, how close I am, that's when I'll mention the Ozempic, because I'll be like, you know, well, I'm also diabetic. So they put me on Ozempic, and this was a happy side effect, you know, that, yeah. And then the only other thing that I still struggle with is the fact that because I lost the weight, I had the extra skin. And so there was about 10 pounds that when I did have surgery to remove that I feel like people take it as that's more of that cosmetic, like when people want to get the facelift or things like that. And I'm like, no, like it has caused me problems for years. Because even just the fact that when I had kids, I gave birth to toddlers. They were so huge that like affected my skin, and I've had issues just with that hanging down for years. So that was just, you know, physically great, and then mentally, I think that has helped a whole lot. So, but I still struggle to tell people that part, because I think it's still so recent, and so it's just been. It is kind of like you said, they don't want to hear that you're doing something consistent. They want that, well, you had surgery. Well, yeah, but that was after over a year of losing weight slowly and consistently, and, you know, working on the nutrition side of it. So, you know, that was like my reward for for doing what I did for that long, you know.
Well deserved. Heck yeah. Okay. I don't know if this will be the last question, maybe the second to last. Mm-hmm. Did you have any fears or reservations before we started working together? Like when you went to talk to your husband about it? Like what, like, because obviously it's a big investment, and there's always a little bit of like, is this going to work?
Well, I think that's where I'm lucky, is that he's very supportive of it. And we were finally in a position where he was like, we can do this, do it. And so we would start out small, where I would do only like the 10 sessions or I think it was 10. And then I did 20 one time. And then we went with the 6 months and whatever. And so I think that was really a positive thing. But what I was concerned about was me keeping up, because if I buy 20 sessions, you didn't have an expiration date on those. So I could still go into my avoidance and my, you know, whatever, and just be like, yeah, I'll get back to you. But I never wanted to do that, you know, and that was what was really nice. But that was my genuine fear, was that I would kind of hit back into that. And then when we did the 6 months, I knew that has an expiration date. But I think with the way we've done it, it's been really good. Like, you know, when I took my road trip, obviously I couldn't meet up, or, you know, if you had something going on, and it was really easy. But it was still that accountability of, okay, maybe we can't meet up to work out, but let's have that check-in call. So I still feel like I'm using it, and it's not that gym membership that sits in the back of your mind and you feel guilty with when you look at your bank statement, you know, that you never use.
It'll never not interest me how when you take the pressure off and you try, like, I love client-centered coaching, because, like, when I let you lead the way and I tell you, hey, I trust you, and we can go as slow or as quickly as you want. We can do 30-minute sessions. We can do 1-hour sessions. We can meet once a week. We can meet 4 times a week. It's interesting to see how capable most people are, and how, like, I don't know. There's like this idea that you're lazy and you're undisciplined. It's like, no, when you give people the benefit of the doubt, and I almost like use reverse psychology. Right. It makes you want to show up more.
Yeah. And I think, too, you feel like you're getting something more out of it, because I think, like I said, with you being not just solely focused on the food or solely focused on the weights, it's like I'm getting more for what I'm paying than I think. I feel like it should have been more money, because I do feel like I get more out of it than that, because you like, we can meet 4 times a week. I'm going maybe 2, 3, but I think that is it. It's like the cost, it's almost like a sticker shock at first. Like when you think that I just spent 600, 700, whatever for the amount of time, but then you're like, oh, but I also see her consistently, and maybe, I think she deserves more than now I get a discount for that, right? No.
I'll think about it.
But in all honesty, like I said, I think it's just nice that that too, like when we talked about me re-upping, it's not even necessarily about whether I can afford or not right now. I do kind of want to see what I can do on my own, and you're understanding to that. And it wasn't a hard conversation about like, no, I'm done with you. Like, it wasn't that. It was just like, hey, well, let's check in 3 months, and we can see where we're at, whether it's financially, whether it's mentally, whether my weight has suddenly gone up 10 pounds, what's happening. And that way it's not over, but it's not going to be as consistent as it was, if that makes sense. So
yes, that's why I hate to compare it to therapy, but with the therapist,
really
like when you find a good one, there are some people who see their therapist for years on end. There are some people who need a couple months to get through a specific phase in their life. There are some people who see their therapist for a year, and then they check in with their therapist a little bit less frequently. Like, it's a choose your own adventure.
Well, plus, how can you see how much you've grown if you are constantly relying on that, And that's where I kind of want to see, because I see the changes. I feel the changes. I know I don't feel as guilty about certain things and stuff, but I won't know that I can do it on my own if you and I keep going for, indefinitely. And so it's kind of nice. And like I said, I also feel like it's not necessarily an ending too, because I do feel like we've kind of become friends to the point where in a couple months, I mean, hey, how are you doing? How's your move going? How's the, whatever. It doesn't even have to be about this. And then if that conversation turns into, are you wanting to do more training? How's the weight loss going? Whatever. I mean, I don't think that's I won't have that guilt of like, well, I'm not paying her for that, that sort of a thing, because it has become more than that. And I think that that's what really keeps a lot of people going. And I think that that's the one thing that's special about what you do, is that there's not pressure. It's not about the money. It's about the helping people and being able to eventually set them free,
Yeah. Wow. So beautiful.
I have a way with words. What can I say? No.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who is on the fence about taking the coaching leap and investing in themselves that we haven't already said?
Yeah. I definitely think it's worth it. And I think that finding someone that is willing to work with you and work with your situation is what's most important. Wow. Because I do think that, like you said, it's an investment and it can get expensive in the dollars and cents. But I do think that if you're starting to eat healthier, I don't go out every single day anymore. There was usually at least one meal, whether it was my coffee or my breakfast or my lunch, whatever, that I would probably go out at least 5 times a week. Well, I don't do that anymore. So, there's $60 that I'm saving, and that's 2 sessions. You know what I mean? And so I think that reconciling it that way is helpful, and I kind of explain that to people too. And I also think, like I said, that there's a lot of people that when they're not in it for the money, like obviously there's still that line where this is my profession, I have to have some sort of line, but that's where you're going to find someone that's willing to work with you and willing to work with what's going to happen. So if they find someone, and I mean, because like you, that does that for people, that you're willing to have that conversation and see where they are and see what you can do to help them, that's going to be huge. And I think that more people that are on the online coaching and are willing to look at that side of it, not just the weightlifting and the weight loss and the food part, is definitely worth it. Going to a big chain gym and saying, I need the trainer, let's look at the training package, I don't feel like that's worth it as much. Because you're not going to get that. And this is the price, this is it, there's no working with you, it's whatever. So I think that's where I personally feel like finding somebody that's in your line of how you do it is going to be helpful.
Okay, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story.